Good evening, you're watching News Mongolian World. I'm your host, Amr Gambatar. And for top stories, the Confederation of Mongolian Trade Unions demand wage increases. Minister of Foreign Affairs Battsetseg received Chief Executive of Tolgoi LLC. Horsehead fiddle player promotes the traditional culture to its next generation. And for the news, stay tuned. On Monday, the Confederation of Mongolian Trade Unions called on the government to create favorable working and living environments in Mongolia. Their main demand is increasing salaries in all sectors.
We have received many demands and requests. First of all, rising commodity and consumer product prices are becoming a huge problem. Every day we see increases in prices for basic consumer goods, and the foreign currency exchange rate is growing day by day. In contrast, people's salaries have stayed the same. Currently at the government palace, members of parliament are discussing the 2023 state budget. There aren't enough resources for increasing salaries and pensions, so it should be concretely defined in the budget. Also, workplace safety is becoming a huge problem in Mongolia. We hear a lot of stories about how people at the management level steal from coal exports. Frankly, people are divided into two groups. Those who can barely make ends meet, and a few people who make a huge profit from mining and mineral resources. We believe there is a possibility of doubting salaries and wages with proper management. Our main concern should be what our salaries are in the next few years, in 2023, 2024 and 2025. We truly regret that young people are going to live abroad for a better life. We have been denied a permit to hold demonstrations at Sokoto Square 4 times, but as the trade unions, we will continue submitting our demands. Today the inflation rate is around 20%, so increasing salaries by only 5 to 6% isn't going to work.
In our next report, we are highlighting a person who has mastered the different styles of folk art. He says that the skills of playing and making a murunghor are in the minds of Mongolian people.
Эрдэнэ Gomdorj performs as a horsehead fiddle player at the Mongol Turkten Theatre of Tu Province. He was taught to play the horsehead fiddle by his father from a young age and also was taught how to make them. For more than 30 years, he has been promoting this folk heritage and culture to others.
I did not graduate from any professional music school. Basically, I taught myself to play the horsehead fiddle in the traditional way for practice. I became a disciple of a man named Battsetseg, and I've been playing with him for many years.
Эрдэнэ has made 50 to 100 educational and professional murunghors and supplies them to the market. In the future, he is also aiming to teach others to play the horsehead fiddle. He also advises that people should respect their heritage and play the traditional musical instrument at home and learn to play it by themselves.
We make horsehead fiddles for professional players. The fiddle is made of a bamboo, and the birch wood that has been imported recently is of good quality. Even in Mongolia, it takes a long and complicated time to cut good birch and dry it. A few years ago, designs were made to look more elaborate. How musical instruments should be a little different than those used at an official or ceremonial event.
Эрдэнэ enjoys reciting Mongolian folklore stories. He advises people to use every opportunity to learn to play the murunghor and perform it at family events like weddings and gatherings. He has been promoting his folk heritage and culture more than 30 years, and over that time he has taught more than 200 students.
Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
Afghan mathematician Mohammad Afghan, considered a philosopher of mathematics recognized by UNESCO, is visiting Mongolia. During his visit, Afghan met with university students, Academy of Sciences members, and professors. He presented a lecture and shared his approach to mathematics.
I have heard much about Mongolia and have studied it for more than 30 years. I've received invitations from 11 countries this year, but decided to visit Mongolia first. As a researcher, I've studied your people and culture extensively.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Battsetseg received the Chief Executive Officer of Oyo Tolgoi LLC, Ms. Deirdre Lingenfelder. The minister emphasized that the successful implementation of the Oyo Tolgoi project not only increases the country's budget revenues and the income of national suppliers, but also makes invaluable investments in young Mongolians by teaching them advanced mining technologies and Western business methods. Foreign Minister Battsetseg confirmed that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mongolia would provide all necessary support to the Oyo Tolgoi project. Ms. Deirdre Lingenfelder briefed the minister on current developments in the Oyo Tolgoi project, stressing that the project's mining and financing activities are proceeding according to plan with a focus on achieving sustainable production of quality copper concentrate. Ms. Deirdre Lingenfelder also invited Foreign Minister Battsetseg to visit the Oyo Tolgoi mine site.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. The World Trade Organization chief acknowledged on Monday that trade contributes to carbon emissions, but says a new WTO report estimates that lifting tariffs and other barriers to trade in environmentally friendly energy products could both boost exports and reduce emissions.
WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said the Geneva-based trade body's latest World Trade Report, whose release was timed for Monday's opening of the UN Climate Conference, found that trade has helped prices of solar electricity plunge 97% since 1990. However, trade, like most economic activities, emits greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide emissions linked to international goods and services exports accounted for 30% of global carbon emissions as of 2018, the report said. She added that trade is needed to get technologies from one part of the world where they are made and produced to another.
The first message is that trade, which admittedly has had a hand in generating emissions, can be harnessed as a force multiplier for countries' mitigation and adaptation efforts by reducing costs and increasing impact. Indeed, trade, by increasing economic activities and moving goods across borders, can generate some carbon emissions. But on the positive side of the ledger, trade and trade policies can foster and accelerate the transition to a low-carbon economy. This is done by providing access to and spurring innovation in low-carbon technologies. This is also achieved by helping clean energy investments achieve the broadest reach at the lowest cost.
The report says elimination of tariffs and reduction of non-tariff measures on energy-related environmental goods, like those that produce clean energy or help control air pollution, could boost exports by 5% by 2030. The resulting increases in energy efficiency and adoption and use of renewable energies would reduce global emissions by 0.6%, it said.
More than 100 leaders are about to discuss the worsening problem that scientists call Earth's biggest challenge. Yet observers say it will be hard to make progress given all that is happening in the world.
Nearly 50 heads of states or governments on Monday took the stage in the first day of high-level international climate talks in Egypt, with more to come in the following days. Much of the focus will be on national leaders telling their stories of being devastated by climate disasters, culminating on Tuesday with a speech by Pakistan Prime Minister Mohammad Sharif, whose country's summer flood caused at least $40 billion in damage and displaced millions of people. Most of the leaders are meeting on Monday in Tuesday, just as the United States had a potentially policy-shifting midterm election. Then the leaders of the world's 20 wealthiest nations will have their powerful-only club confab in Bali in Indonesia days later. Leaders of two of the three biggest carbon-polluting nations, China and India, appear to be skipping the climate talks, although underlings are keen negotiating. The leader of the other top polluting country, U.S. President Joe Biden, is coming days later than most of the other presidents and prime ministers on his way to Bali. United Kingdom Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was initially going to avoid the negotiations, but public pressure and predecessor Boris Johnson's plans to come changed his mind. New King Charles III, a long-time environment advocate, won't attend because of his new role. And Russia's leader Vladimir Putin, whose invasion of Ukraine created energy chaos that reverberates in the world of climate negotiations, won't be here. The leaders showing up in droves are from the host continent, Africa.
United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Monday warned that loss and damage from global climate change can no longer be swept under the rug.
Addressing the COP27 climate conference in Egypt, Guterres called for a windfall tax on fossil fuel companies' profits, with the money redirecting to people struggling with rising food and energy prices and to continue suffering loss and damage caused by the climate crisis.
There is no adapting to a growing number of catastrophic events causing enormous suffering around the world. The deadly impacts of climate change are here and now. Loss and damage can no longer be swept under the rug. It is a moral imperative. It is a fundamental question of international solidarity and climate justice. Those who contributed least to the climate crisis are reaping the whirlwind sown by others. And many are blindsided by impacts for which they had no warning or means of preparation. This is why I am calling for a universal early warning system coverage within 5 years. And it is why I am asking that all governments tax the windfall profits of fossil fuel companies. Let's redirect that money to people struggling with rising food and energy prices and to countries suffering loss and damage caused by the climate crisis.
More than 100 world leaders speak over the next few days to try to deal with the worsening problems that scientists call Earth's biggest challenge. Nearly 50 heads of states or governments started to take the stage Monday in the first day of high-level talks at the annual conference.
Under the rug.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Tom Brady became the first player in NFL history to reach 100,000 passing yards in his career, combining regular season and playoffs in a 16-13 comeback win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Los Angeles Rams.
The 43-year-old completed a pass to returning back Leonard Fournette in the fourth quarter for a gain of 15 yards to put him over the mark. Before the game, Brady pointed to his current and former teammates when he asked about potentially breaking the record.
That was awesome. That was awesome. And we certainly haven't played perfect by any stretch, but hopefully that gives us some confidence and we can, win again next week and get to 5-5, which would be pretty, good for us the bye week and then kind of reevaluate everything. Yeah, it's all about the win, so it's all about the win, man. No one.
While the record was a momentous achievement for Brady, it was what the veteran quarterback did against the Rams, which was what he was most happy with afterwards. During what looked like it might be another frustrating night for the Bucs, having been unable to find a touchdown all evening, Brady was given one more opportunity in the fourth quarter to rescue the game. And in typical Brady fashion, he completed 4 straight passes, including a defensive pass interference call, to move Tampa Bay down to the field before connecting with tight end Cade Otton for a 1-yard touchdown with 13 seconds left to complete the comeback victory. The comeback victory was an important one for the Bucs. Coming against the reigning Super Bowl champions, it snapped a 3-game losing streak and improved the team's record 4-5 on the season and put them back on top of the NFC South. The Buccaneers next head to Munich to face the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL's first ever game in Germany on Sunday.
Yokohama F. Marinos defender Tomoki Iwata was named the J-League's most valuable player at the annual J-League Awards on Monday, while making his first appearance in a best 11 featuring 5 members from the newly crowned champions.
The 25-year-old Iwata became just the fourth defender to claim the league's top individual accolade and the first since former Japan center-back Marcus Tolgoi Tanaka won it in 2006 with Urawa Reds. Iwata played a crucial role for manager Kevin Muscat, who tasked the Oita Prefecture native with keeping the champions secure at the back while they employed a potentially risky high defensive line. I think that the main reason I was selected as Player of the Year was that I was able to consistently play in games this season without any serious injuries, and was the player in the team who played the highest number of minutes this season and was able to contribute to the team winning the league title. Iwata made his professional debut in J-League 3rd Division with Oita Trinita back in 2016. Shimizu Esponsa's Brazilian forward Thiago Santana won the top scorer award with a tally of 14 goals, the lowest tally in the history of the awards. It also marks the first time a top scorer is from a relegated team.
Here's the weather forecast of all major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.